Good evening. I'm Kirsha Hughes-Scandies, President of the League of Women Voters of Juneau. On behalf of the League, welcome to this year's forum featuring candidates from the upcoming Assembly and School Board election. I would first like to thank the traditional caretakers of the land this event takes place on. We are privileged to be guests on Tlingit land, Gunol Chish. The forum is a cooperative effort between the League, KTOO, and the Juneau Empire. The League thanks KTOO for its continued and generous support of the event, and also thanks the Juneau Empire for publishing the candidates' responses to the questions in our voters' guide. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan organization that never supports or opposes any political party or candidate. We promote political responsibility through the informed and active participation of citizens. And our goal is to provide information so that you, the voter, may make informed decisions as you exercise your right to vote. Voting is our superpower. We urge our listeners to be sure to vote, whether it's by mail, drop box, or in person. You'll be hearing more about this year's election process from the City Clerk's office at our halfway point. Be on the lookout for your ballot as it hits the mail Tuesday of next week. Thank you for tuning in and becoming an informed voter. With that, I'll turn it over to this evening's hosts, Rasha McChesney and Dana Zygmunt.
Hello, and welcome to Juneau's 2021 Virtual Candidate Forum. My name is Rasha McChesney, and I'm the daily news editor for KTOO.
And I'm Dana Zygmunt, reporter for the Juneau Empire.
This forum is airing live on KTOO 104.3 FM, as well as on KTOO's Facebook page, ktoo.org, juneauempire.com, and juneaulwv.org. For those of you watching online, you'll see that due to the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, we again don't have a live studio audience tonight. The candidates are joining us remotely via Zoom, and Dana and I are in separate studios here at KTOO.
Because of COVID-19, Juneau's municipal election will also look very different this year. Earlier this year, the Juneau Assembly voted to hold the October 5th election by mail. Ballots will be mailed out to registered voters on September 14th and should be arriving in mailboxes soon after. City Clerk Beth McEwen will join us later to explain what that means and how voters can be sure to participate safely in this year's election.
We're starting with Juneau Assembly candidates tonight, followed by school board candidates. There are 2 open seats on the Assembly, and all Juneau voters can weigh in on the races in both districts. In District 1, Paul Kelly, Barbara Blake, and Troy White-Smith are facing off for a 3-year term. District 2 has 2 candidates in the running for a 3-year term, incumbent Michelle Hale and Kelly Fischler. Mayor Beth Weldon is also up for re-election, and she is running unopposed. There is also a ballot proposition that asks voters to decide if they're willing to extend the city's 3% sales tax for another 5 years.
Candidates will have 1 minute to make their opening statements. Then we'll start asking questions. Each candidate will have 55 seconds to respond to each question. We'll move down the line so everyone has a chance to answer first. We'll wrap up with 1-minute closing statements.
Candidates, please be mindful of the timer on your screens. Please wrap up when you're close to 0. All right, Paul Kelly, your opening statement, please.
Thank you, Rasha. Thank you, everybody. Thank you to the League of Women Voters for hosting this, and to the Juneau Empire and KTOO. My name is Paul Kelly. I am running to represent you in the Juneau Assembly for the District 1 seat. I'm a 3rd-generation Alaskan. I currently work at the Department of Transportation and Public Facilities. I'm studying at UAS for my master's in public administration. And I've been serving on the school board for the last 3 years. The last 1.5 years, I have been working so hard to keep our students and our teachers safe. As I visited more than 1,200 doors this year, my priorities have consistently been supporting public education, reducing homelessness, and helping our economy to rebound from COVID. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Paul Kelly. Barbara Blake, it's your turn.
Wafal Gidak Hinudi Kiang, Barbara Blake Atsatai Hinudi Kiang. My name is Wafal Gidak. My English name is Barbara Blake. I've been living here in Juneau for about 7 years now, but my family is originally from Hiktahunglai or Heidelberg, as well as Kloak. I am Yak Janos, Raven from the Shark House. I'm also a granddaughter of Flay Nadi, the Dog Salmon people, and the daughter of the Nelchina, the Sky Clan. My father's people are from Chestachina, which is by Glen Allen. It's an honor to be here tonight. I come to you with a wealth of experience, both tribal, state, federal, as well as local. Been a professor, I'm a mom, an Alaska Native woman, and I'm proud to be living here as the 500th generation of Alaska Native people have been. Super honored to be running in this race, and it's an honor to even be considered a representative of this community. Hawa Gunesh Chish Chinan, thank you.
Thank you, Barbara Blake. Troy White-Smith, you have 1 minute.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for having me here and giving me the opportunity to serve along my other candidates here and for inviting us to this forum. It's a great opportunity, and I greatly appreciate the chance to be able to serve the community. As she has let you know, my name is Troy White-Smith, and I have a bachelor's degree in political science from St. Vincent College in Latrobe, Pennsylvania, with a minor in English. After graduating from college, I had moved abroad to Iceland, where I had began my advocacy for the LGBTQ community, where I got to travel the world and meet with world leaders along the way and discuss how we can work on the issues that were still affecting the LGBTQ community. I decided to run here in Juneau because that made me realize that I was born to serve, and I want to give my life to public service. Having that said, my issues that I plan to focus on are basically mental health and how it has an effect on the opioid crisis, suicide prevention, and homelessness. Thank you.
Thank you, Troy White-Smith. Michelle Hale, you have 1 minute.
Thank you. My name is Michelle Bonnet Hale. I am from Juneau and have lived here most of my life, but also lived down on Prince of Wales. I have a 30-year career in water quality, and now I run a framing shop. And so it's been a big shift and lots of fun. I have served on the Assembly for the last 3 years, and my platform is steady course, care of the economy, and care for people. We'll all talk about the economy, and I think everybody knows how important that is. Steady course, I have done a great job on the Assembly, and I bring all of that experience dealing with COVID, but also things like solid waste, running the Public Works and Facilities Committee. I think Juneau needs that experience. Care of the economy, taking care of our businesses coming out of COVID, and caring for people.
Thank you, Michelle Hale. Kelly Fischler, your opening statement, please.
Hi, good evening, and thank you so much to the League of Women Voters, KTOO, and the Juneau Empire for hosting this event. I am a longtime Alaskan, a U.S. Navy veteran, and an Air National Guard veteran. My husband is active duty Coast Guard, which is how we are here in Juneau. And I will be finishing my bachelor's degree in public administration later this year and beginning my master's in public policy next year through UAS and online universities. I am running for a platform of economic sustainability and affordability for the families who live here, as well as balanced COVID-19 policies that prioritize our mental health in addition to our physical health and our economic stability. Thank you.
1 minute. Thank you, Kelly Fischler. Beth Weldon, you have 1 minute.
Thank you, and good evening, everyone, and thank you to the League of Women Voters for putting this on yet again. And sorry we're all in Zoom land, but I think we're all used to that. I'm running for my second term of mayor. During my first year, of course, we had quite the challenge. I don't think anybody signed up for a pandemic, but that's what we had. So I hope to bring my experience in bringing the Assembly and ability to work together. And as a body, I think we have strived well to maintain open minds, do the hard research, listen to differing opinions, and do long, careful deliberations, and some of them are very long. So one of the reasons I'm running for mayor again is I would like to continue looking at the economic health as we come out of COVID. And also I would like to continue advocating for childcare and looking at our visitor industry and seeing how we can balance between the industry and the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Beth Weldon. Now for the questions, beginning again with Paul Kelly. The current City Assembly has made many decisions regarding COVID-19 mitigation. What would you change or keep moving forward? You have 55 seconds.
Thank you, Dana. I've been following the policies as the Assembly has been making them for the last year and a half. And I think the Assembly has been doing a great job. I think they've made a very balanced approach. It's always a matter of, I think the highest priority is keeping your citizens safe. And I think the Assembly has done a great job of doing that. I also think that they've done a great job of balancing our civil liberties, and I don't think that there is much that I would change. I especially admire them for working together, for working constructively, and they might decide differently on a vote, but they usually come together in the end. So I look forward to working with them in the future.
Thank you, Paul Kelly. Thank you, Paul Kelly. Next, we'll have Barbara Blake. Same question. The current City Assembly has made many decisions regarding COVID-19 mitigation. What would you change or keep moving forward? Again, you have 55 seconds.
However, that I think our Assembly is doing an exceptional job of taking care of Juneau, taking care of our community and ensuring that we're all working and maintaining a safe distance from each other. I think that our Assembly works well together, even being from multiple different perspectives and multiple sides of the political spectrum. I think we work well in ensuring that our community is safe. I don't think I would change a whole lot in terms of their extension of the mitigation that they've put forward. I think that they found a successful balance for opening business back up, allowing small get-togethers, but still allowing us to be safe and to not jeopardize the safety of our kids and our community. I'm super thankful that everything has happened the way it has and that our kids were able to go back to school this year, because I know that's been a big factor in my life and in our lives. I wouldn't change anything.
Thank you, Barbara Blake. Next, we'll move to Troy White-Smith. Same question. The current City Assembly has made many decisions regarding COVID-19 mitigation. What would you change or keep moving forward? You have 55 seconds.
My apologies.
Thank you.
I as well believe that our Assembly has done an exceptional job handling COVID here in Juneau. I think there's not a lot that I would change, but I think that we need to continue encouraging people to get vaccinated the best that we can. I was a huge supporter in the beginning, before they had announced it, of incentive programs. And I've been advocating for this for months. And luckily, the Chamber of Commerce just released the idea, of the new incentive program to offer $49,000 via lottery per week or per 2 weeks for the candidates. And I think that pushing for the Juneauites, I believe that people need to get vaccinated in order to protect our community and to protect our kids as well. So I think that the incentive programs, I would place a higher priority on them to increase the number of folks we have vaccinated.
Thank you very much. Michelle Hale, same question, 55 seconds, please.
Thanks for the question. Having been on the Assembly while we've been making all of these decisions, it's been grueling, and we've done the best job that we could. And I think we've done a really good job. It's disappointing to be in the place that we're at now, but we'll get through it. I know we will. I think what I want to continue is mitigation measures that work, but with the lightest touch possible. I think that the Assembly is very keen to not impose requirements on people that are really difficult. And no one wants to keep imposing requirements. So it's really important that we have that light touch. I am encouraged by the state and state Chamber of Commerce lottery system. Wonder if there's something like that we could do in Juneau, working with our private partners.
Thank you very much, Michelle Hale. Kelly Fischler, you have 55 seconds to answer the same question. And again, that question is, the current City Assembly has made many decisions regarding COVID-19 mitigation. What would you change or keep moving forward?
Yes, thank you. So early on in the pandemic, the Assembly and the world really didn't know what we were facing and what we were going to have to work with. I know there's been several private companies who really stepped up to the plate early last year to make masks and face shields and PPE for local first responders, and then eventually everyone in the community that they were able to provide for. And I think that was great. The mitigation strategies that we've had in place are something that I would continue to encourage wherever possible. As Michelle Hale said, we want to make sure that we're protecting our civil liberties and our rights to bodily autonomy. And I would love to see the Assembly, or specifically CBJ, put out a wellness campaign to decrease our risk factors and celebrate our vaccination rate and make sure that we're looking at the whole picture that the science gives us. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly Fischler. Beth Weldon, same question with 55 seconds, please.
Thank you. And I just want to thank the Juneau community because we all pulled together as a community to get through this. So I'll do a little bit different take. I think our mitigation measures have worked well, and I would continue to do them. I was a strong advocate for the green level because we need to have some hope in sight. But one thing that we should have done differently, I think we burned ourselves out by endless meetings and long deliberations. I think those had to occur, but I think we should have figured out some way to do that a little bit better. You heard us many times in lots of meetings say we lost our bandwidth. And so for us personally, as our 9 members and our staff just got beaten up too. I think we should have figured out a little bit different ways to do that. And that would be my one change that we had. But otherwise, I think we did a good job balancing between public health and economic health. So I think we did pretty good.
Thank you, Mayor Beth Weldon. Rasha has the next question.
Thank you, Dana. The next question will start with Barbara Blake. Barbara, what is one thing you would do to stabilize Juneau's financial future? You have 55 seconds.
I think the city's on a great trajectory. I know that, tourism has been a lead in our economy as well as mining. And I know that those will remain 2 staples for Juneau's economy into the future. I think in terms of beefing up our opportunity as a regional hub and allowing for more opportunities for folks to gather here, whether they be conferences or whatever is necessary for them to find this as a place that they see as welcoming for larger gatherings. I think it's pretty amazing that the Ironman is coming here, and I think that there's extended opportunities to really couch that and really hone in on those opportunities. I also think that we should be more proud of ourselves for being the art capital of Alaska. I mean, I really see that everywhere we go, whether it be Northwest Coast art or just artists in general. And I think that priding ourselves on that and really amping up the opportunities we have in those spaces would go a long way.
Roy White-Smith, same question. What is one thing you would do to stabilize Juneau's financial future? You have 55 seconds. Troy, you're muted.
I'm not used to having it muted. Sorry, thank you. Well, I think the one thing that we need to take a look at is I want to still support our small businesses and maybe do some do some tax breaks. I think it's concerning to me that for the commercial property owners here in Juneau that there had been a tax increase of about 50%. I think that that's something that I do disagree with. I think we need to put more back into our small businesses via grants and our commercial property owners as well, because these businesses are what thrives our economy, and we need to encourage new startups. We need to fix affordable housing so more people come here to Juneau and want to do more startups and put their dollars into our city. So I think the heart of Juneau is our small businesses and businesses we have here. I think we need to support them more.
Thank you, Troy White-Smith. Michelle Hale, you have 55 seconds.
Looking big, thinking big, the one thing I would do to really boost Juneau's economy is build that second crossing. And that's a big ask. It's a big thing to do, but it would open up land. It would open up land for housing. It would open up land for commercial and industrial development. It would open up port opportunities. It would spread tourism across Juneau in a much more effective way. without that, we really can't do much more development on North Douglas. So that would be my choice.
Thank you, Michelle Hale. Kelly Fischler, you have 55 seconds.
Yes. So if there is one thing I could do to boost Juneau's economy, I probably wouldn't do just one thing. I would continue to work with the tourism industry. We have a newly appointed tourism manager, as well as the mining industries. And as Troy mentioned, really focusing and pouring into our small businesses. Juneau's greatest asset is our people. It always has been, and it always will be. The families that make their lives here, and the the fishing industries, as well as tourism, state and local government are all incredible things. And I want to see those continue. And one of the biggest ways that we can do that is to continuously encourage our small businesses and potential small business owners to take the jump and open a business and serve their community. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly Fischler. Beth Weldon, what is one thing you would do to stabilize Juneau's financial future? You have 55 seconds.
I'll go for the global picture since Michelle stole my answer. Anyway, just continue following our economic development plan. I'll point out two highlights. One thing is build on our strengths, and our strengths are tourism and mining and fishing, and we need to build on those and help them wherever we can. The tourism industry we're looking at that very closely to make sure we balance it carefully between the community and what the industry needs. And another part of our Juneau economic development plan is make sure that we remain the capital city. I don't think people realize how big a fight that is all the time. There's probably not a week that we aren't doing something in the city staff to keep Juneau as a capital city and fighting for that. And then the last part of the Juneau economic plan I'll mention is build a senior economy. It was great pleasure I had in being at the groundbreaking ceremony for the Riverview Senior Living today.
Thank you, Beth Weldon. Paul Kelly, it's your turn.
Thank you. Thank you for unmuting me, and thanks for the question. And I'm actually really happy to be asked this question because this is something that I worked on as a part of my master's program at UAS when I was studying for my master's for public administration. And so I ended up writing a paper on the economy in Juneau, and I spoke to people from Travel Juneau, from the New Jack, from JEDC. And what I discovered that kind of surprised me is that Juneau actually already has a pretty diverse economy, but what it does not have is a very diverse tourism economy. And as I've been going door to door, a lot of people equate our tourism industry with cruise ship tourism. So I think we need to expand to more independent travelers, and I think we also need to cater to make Juneau somewhat of a cultural hub and bring people around Alaska and around Southeast. Thank you.
Paul Kelly, thank you. Dana has the next question.
Thank you, Rasha. For the next question, we'll start with Troy White-Smith. And again, it's a 55-second answer. The question is, what are your top priorities for the city's new tourism director?
Thank you so much for the question. Great question. Top priorities for the new director. I want to highly encourage to keep bringing our cruise ships in, even large cruise ships in mass numbers. Tourism helps drive our economy. It's one of the biggest generators of revenue that we have here in Juneau. And I think that we can take an example from the cruise ships as well, because they have COVID under control and requiring the vaccination of people to be on the ships there. So whenever they dock, they don't pose a risk to our city. And I believe that getting those cruise ships back in numbers, I think, is something that we really need to do. I think that we also need to expand our art and culture so more people can learn about our Indigenous community in Juneau and our history as well. And I think that art is a beautiful thing, and there's a lot of it in Juneau, and we focus on that as well.
Thank you, Troy White-Smith. Michelle Hale, you have 55 seconds to answer the same question.
Thanks. The new tourism manager will be working closely with the city manager and closely with the assembly One of the first things is to work with Docks and Harbors and with CLIA to make sure that Juneau has an active role in the scheduling of the docks and making sure that we are able to electrify docks when we want to and where we want to. The other thing that's going to be really important initially is working with the Assembly on the Visitor Industry Task Force recommendations. Those all came out right when COVID hit. We're just starting to get back to them. There's a lot of work to do, and it's more than the manager can handle, and this tourism manager will be able to help us work through that.
Thank you, Michelle Hale. Kelly Fischler, same question to you. What are your top priorities for the city's new tourism director?
So I'm really excited to see how the new tourism director is going to approach things. One of the jobs that they're going to have to do is to balance the needs of our local residents along with the needs of incoming tourists. And I am really excited to see how they do that. Things that are probably going to be really important for our tourism director will be putting shore power in for the cruise lines. That way we have, we're giving them some cleaner energy with our abundant hydropower, and I'm really excited about that. And another thing that would be really great to do is to differentiate ourselves as a local arts and cultural center, and even with the goods that we offer downtown at the tourism shops. And I'm looking forward to seeing some new restaurants and food trucks pop up as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly Fischler. Mayor Beth Weldon, you have 55 seconds for the same question.
Thank you. So I'm looking forward to this position. The Visitor Industry Task Force has done a great job. So that would be the first thing that the managers should do, is follow the Visitor Industry Task Force recommendations. Luckily, they will be helped by a survey that's planned for this fall of the public. And as Ms. Hale said, they need to get involved in the ship scheduling. We haven't done that in the past, and we're going to start doing that. You won't be able to see it for a year or two, though, just to fair warn everybody, because it's out for a couple of years. They'll also probably end up managing TBMP, as Mr. Day is going to retire pretty soon, so that will fall into the city more than it has. And negotiate with CLIA will be the big one. And this is where we can negotiate and perhaps get to only 5 ships in port, to keep the waste out of our landfill, and to do shore power or any other items that's in the report.
Thank you, Beth Weldon. Paul Kelly, it's your turn.
Great, thank you. Yes, I was at the meeting when the Assembly approved this new position, and I'm very excited to see it, to see the potential of what the tourism manager can do. Going door to door, especially when I was going downtown, a lot of things that people said to me was that there was way too much traffic downtown for during the cruise ship season, and that it wasn't a great experience for them, and it wasn't a great experience for the tourists. So I think one thing I would like to see is better management for the traffic downtown. I would also like to see the manager work on other priorities, such as bringing in more independent travelers, and also bringing in more cultural tourism. I think all of that could potentially fall within the purview of a tourism manager.
Thank you. Barbara Blake, you have 55 seconds for the same question.
Yeah, thank you. I think we can do a really great job of really exploring and working with our Native community here. We have a 10,000-year-old rich history of this place. And I think it's a perfect opportunity to really lift that up into a place where it's renowned throughout the world. Alaska Heritage is working to make this a Northwest Coast capital of the world. And I think we should really emphasize that. I saw that Eagle Crest has got some big, huge plans for what they can do. I know that it's going to take a long time before that comes to fruition, but I would love to see a lot of that for summer tourism amplified. I think that there's opportunity for increasing infrastructure for more independent travelers. And then finally, dock electrification is definitely a must. I think that would really help to improve the tourist, the cruise ships that are coming in, so that they're not spewing out emissions while they're at dock. Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara Blake. Rasha, we'll turn it over to you for the next question.
Thank you, Dana. We'll start with you, Michelle Hale. The Juneau Assembly has clearly prioritized addressing systemic racism through the development of the Systemic Racism Review Committee. Do you support the effort, and what specifically would you like to see that committee looking at or proposing to the Assembly? You have 55 seconds.
I do support the effort, and I was involved in the formation of that committee. I am eager to see the committee actually bringing things to us. They've put in an enormous effort getting to this point as they're trying to sort of unravel what it is they're supposed to do. I kind of suspect that the area where they might really see systemic racism is in the budget process. And that's a tough process to go through. But I've said many times on the Assembly that I was a bus rider for a year and a half, and I think we need to give more funding to our buses. And I think that's one area where they might reveal that there is some systemic racism. Again, it's not blatant, it's not intended, it just happens because that's how the system is set up.
Thank you, Michelle Hale. Kelly Fischler, do you support the effort, and what specifically would you like to see that Systemic Racism Review Committee looking at or proposing to the Assembly? You have 55 seconds.
Sure, thank you. So when I first heard about Juneau's systemic racism committee, I was very interested in it, and I thought to myself, well, damn, if there's systemic racism in Juneau, I want to get rid of all of it immediately. I am really excited to see the members on the committee that are there. I'm really looking forward to hearing Kelly Patterson's opinions and her wisdom on going forward. And I want to make sure that everyone is equally valued, and that if there are any possibilities of systemic racism, that we absolutely address them and resolve them immediately. Thank you.
Kelly Fischler, thank you. Beth Weldon, same question, 55 seconds.
Thank you. Yes, I support the committee, and just a shout out to them as they worked very diligently for the last, I think, 3 months. And we've had 2 meetings with them so far in the Assembly, and they have shown us the final version of their tool, which is their criteria. They're reviewing legislation. And so far, it's been good that they haven't got past the first question. So that's good. But even if they never get past the first question, is if there's legislation that has systemic racism, I believe it just keeps us more aware of what's going on and makes us make better choices. And where I think we will see it is during our budget next year and our resource allocation. So it'll be interesting to see them work through that. And with time, we may have to change their mission a little bit because it's a good group of folks, and they have some good insight.
Thank you, Beth Weldon. Paul Kelly, do you support the efforts of the Systemic Racism Review Committee, and what specifically would you like to see that committee looking at or proposing to the Assembly?
Thank you. I think, yes, I absolutely do support the new Systematic Racism Review Committee. I applaud, I believe it was a former Assembly member, Rob Edwardson, who proposed that before he retired from the Assembly. And I think that considering the history that we have in Juneau, I think we've made a lot of progress. But I think it's very important that we continue to monitor this deliberately, and that we make sure that all of the new laws that are proposed, all the new ordinances, that they they treat all of the whole Juneau community fairly. So I absolutely support, and I look forward to how they interact with the Juneau Assembly. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul Kelly. Barbara Blake, you have 55 seconds.
Thank you. I would love to, yes, I do support the Systemic Racism Review Committee. I called in to testify in support of it when it was being considered by the Assembly. I would love for them to consider and hopefully reveal the implicit bias that exists when making decisions. looking through the different lens, different perspectives, sitting at the table. I work in racial equity in my day job on a daily basis. It's the world that I work in and flourish in terms of helping to see what is unseen. I think more than anything, I'd like them to explore what is not working. Why do we not have any Alaska Natives sitting on our assembly? Why is there so few stepping up to sit on our assembly? Why are there so few Alaska Native people who engage in this space? As 30% of the population here, there should be a lot more of BIPOC people and Alaska Native people engaged in this space. And what are we doing that is not working to help people engage?
Barbara Blake, thank you. Troy White-Smith, it's your turn.
Thanks so much for the question. I agree with Barbara wholeheartedly. I believe that our system has been fundamentally flawed since the very beginning. People of color have been oppressed for a very, very long time. And I think that we need to look at a lot of things here. We have to dig in and find what the root of the problem is. And make sure that we're allocating funds and the budgeting is distributed properly as well, so we can have this board have the right tools that they need to address the issues that we have. Having that said, I think that we need to support our BIPOC businesses more because they haven't gotten a fair share of the CARES Act funds. I have talked to a lot of people from the BIPOC community, and they feel that they haven't been treated the same as other businesses around town. And I think that that is a huge, huge problem, and I would be the person to fight that battle.
Thank you, Troy White-Smith. Dana has the next question.
Thank you, Rasha. We'll start with Kelly Fischler for the next question, and again, it's 55 seconds. The Juneau Committee on Sustainability is looking for ways to meet the city's pledge to have 80% of Juneau powered by renewable energy by 2045. What is an action you support to reach that goal?
Thank you, Dana. So Juneau has a really great hydropower system already in place. And technically, from what I understand, hydropower is not always classified as a renewable energy, but I might disagree. I think that we are well on our way to having renewable and sustainable energy. And I am really excited about all the efforts that have been undertaken already. And I'm looking forward to seeing what the Assembly and our private enterprise is going to be working out and workshopping in the very near future.
Thank you. Beth Weldon, you're next. You have 55 seconds.
Thank you. Since the Juneau Renewable Energy Strategy was adopted in 2018, I think we've done pretty well with two of their four mission statements, if you will, or four directions. And that's reduce Juneau's dependence on fossil fuel for transportation. So I think we've supported the EV community and town very well. And we've also started moving to electric buses. And we've also working on shore power. We did file for a RAISE grant to do our city docks, the 16B docks for shore power. So hopefully that happens. And the other piece that JRES is replace fossil fuel for heating. And I think our support of Alaska Heat Smart program has been great. And I hope we continue to do that. And I hope we can continue to low income that.
Thank you. Thank you, Beth Weldon. Paul Kelly, it's your turn. Same question.
Great, thank you. I would also like to thank the Assembly for what they've already worked on, as Mayor Weldon just mentioned, implementing the Juneau Renewable Energy Strategy and the applying for the RAISE grant and approving the matching funds for that for docked electrification. As a new electric vehicle owner myself, I support building up more infrastructure for electric vehicles, so more charging stations around the city. I support replacing the city's both the bus fleet and their vehicle fleet as they age out with electric vehicles. And I support changing the zoning rules and building codes in order to establish environmentally friendly practices like higher efficiency and using renewable geothermal energy from heat pumps.
Thank you, Paul Kelly. Barbara Blake, same question, 55 seconds.
Yeah, I think there's definitely room for improvements in electric charging stations throughout Juneau. The Biden administration is carrying on what the Obama administration had done in terms of really taking up the charge for increasing the transfer over from diesel to electric vehicles. And if we were able to tap into that line of funding that's coming down and should be reaching communities soon, I think we would be able to pay for something and not have to raise taxes in order to comply with our goal here. I think that in terms of dock electrification and the thought process of a second dam, not only would we be helping for dock electrification, but there's an opportunity there to also sell to the grid and help our nearby neighbors get off of their diesel fuel as well. And so I think that's a win-win not only for us, but for other communities. Heat smart incentivization, again, working with heat pumps for our communities, and then thinking through what also might be possible through Biden administration. Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara Blake. Troy White-Smith, you have 55 seconds to answer the same question.
Thanks so much for the question. I agree with a lot of what everybody has said here. I think the heat support program is a brilliant idea, and we need to transition to more an electric community. I love the idea of transitioning all buses that we have whenever they phase out into electric vehicles. I think there needs to be a lot more electric charging stations downtown. Also in the Valley, I think that expanding that will help a lot too, and maybe encourage people to purchase their next vehicle as an electric car. I think that maybe adding a lot more parking spaces and designating them for electric cars specifically is a huge step in the right direction as well. I think that, I think that.
Thank you.
That's the area we need to.
Thank you, Troy White-Smith. Next, Michelle Hale. Same question, 55 seconds.
So it's a huge goal to get to 80% renewable energy by 2045, and time is ticking on. We actually don't have that much time, even though 2045 sounds like it's way out there. And one of the things that the Assembly did at its retreat last year, or the year before actually, was to put sustainability as a goal, as an Assembly goal. And what we've done is we've gotten more specific last year and gotten some very specific goals that are tied to this 80% energy by 2045. And then in the Public Works and Facilities Committee that I've been chairing, we actually check on those goals every single meeting. And what I would like to do if I'm reelected is dial that up and really get more specific at the Assembly goal setting so that we can direct staff how to take the actions to meet the goal.
Thank you, Michelle Hale. Rasha has the next question.
Thanks, Dana. In anticipation of federal funds, what are Juneau's greatest needs? We'll start with you, Beth Weldon. You have 55 seconds.
Thank you. I think our biggest, greatest need, as Ms. Hale said earlier, is our second crossing. This will open up development on Douglas Island, and so it will help our commercial development, as in having a deep water port, and it will also help our residential. Some of the better, flatter land is over in Douglas, so that would be one of our biggest concerns, I think, that we have, is to get that second crossing. We also could use federal infrastructure to help with our sustainability goals. And we did, like I said, apply for a grant for dock electrification, and we're going to continue to do that. I'd also like to see us use some federal fundings, if we can get it, to look at the expanded city Centennial Hall. We are working on being the Northwest arts capital of the world, and shout out to Rosita, and that's what I hope.
Thank you, Beth Weldon. Paul Kelly, same question. You have 55 seconds.
Thank you. And would you be able to repeat the question for me, please?
Yeah. In anticipation of federal infrastructure funds, what are Juneau's greatest needs?
Great. Thank you. So serving on the school board, I think, all right. I thought I heard somebody else speaking. So serving on the school board, one thing I've been front and center row is I served for a year as chair of the facilities committee, and I think school buildings is maintaining our school buildings is a priority of mine. I believe that we do need a second crossing, so that way we can do more development in North Douglas, and reduce the housing, reduce the cost of housing for Juneau residents by building up development there. I also support using federal funds to build up the new Jack to help us become more of a cultural hub for Alaska and the Southeast.
Thank you, Paul Kelly. Barbara Blake, what would you do with those federal infrastructure funds? What are Juneau's greatest needs?
Yeah, I also think that really maintenance to our schools is definitely one of the priorities that I would consider. The second crossing is definitely something that would benefit all of our Juneauites and also future generations, which is something that I consider on the regular. Are my children going to be able to live here and afford to live here in the future? The homelands of the Tlingit and Haida people, or the homelands of the Tlingit people, are they going to be able to survive here? Something else that was already said also is the Centennial and the Jack kind of collaboration, combination, and renovation, I think would go a long ways into economic driver for our community. As I said before, this is an opportunity for us to be a central hub where we can incentivize and attract more conferences to come into Juneau. I think there's a lot of opportunities in the infrastructure dollars that are coming through the Biden administration. I'd love to see all three of those prioritized.
Thank you, Barbara Blake. Troy White-Smith, you have 55 seconds.
Thank you. I agree. I believe that maintaining our school should be a top priority. I do know that some roofs need fixed, and there's other areas of the schools that do need to be maintained better. I also believe that the second crossing is huge. It should be one of the top priorities that we have here in Juneau. I think that it relaxes traffic downtown, and especially in cruise ship season for people that are just coming in for, to go to Eagle Crest or whatnot. It's be a direct cutover coming from the airport. But I think that is also, the second crossing is huge. It should be one of our top priorities. And addressing mental health, I believe that the Bartlett Crisis Stabilization Center should also be a top priority as well. A lot of the issues that we have in Juneau, referring to homelessness and the opioid crisis and suicide, I think that has a lot to do with mental health. And I think that we need to put a focus on that Bartlett Crisis Stabilization Center that a lot of people don't know about.
Thank you, Troy White-Smith. Michelle Hale, it's your turn.
Thank you. I may sound a bit like a broken record. I think we have a lot of priorities that are similar, and that's because they kind of shout out to us. That second crossing, as Mayor Weldon and others have mentioned, the Centennial Hall, new Jack, however, the new Civic Center, however that comes to pass, it really does need to be upgraded. There is work that is going to be going on. I mean, the city is right now looking at the possible expansion of the Norwegian dock, and if that does come to pass, that area will be critical. It already is. And so that work needs to happen. Dock electrification and sustainability, we are poised with that goal of 80% renewable by 2045. We are poised to actually take advantage of great infrastructure dollars to actually help move our sustainability goals forward. Thanks.
Michelle Hale, thank you. Kelly Fischler, you have 55 seconds.
Yes, and can you please repeat the question?
Yeah, in anticipation of federal infrastructure funds, what are Juneau's greatest needs?
Yes, so thank you. Juneau has several very pressing needs. We need to make sure that our schools are being taken care of. We need to ensure that development is growing, because healthy things grow, healthy towns grow, healthy economies grow, and healthy lands grow, which we've seen everywhere. When it comes to infrastructure dollars, there are possible classifications that will earn us even more money, such as adopting a zero waste position for the landfill. And I can't think of anyone who doesn't want to see a new Jack or a new Centennial Hall or new school buildings and a second crossing. I think those are great ideas, and I want to see the ones that are well thought out come to fruition, and want to see those happen.
Thank you, Kelly Fischler. That's it for questions. We will now wrap up with candidates' closing statements, starting with Beth Weldon. You have 1 minute.
Thank you. And thank you again for the Juneau community. This has been a very tough year for us. And we're coming on the downside. So I am again running for mayor. This will be my second term. And I think I have shown that I listen well, I can ask hard questions, I listen to both sides, and I can get the assembly to work together as a team. So I'll be short because there's other people here that aren't running unopposed. So that's all the time I'll use. But I appreciate your vote. And remember, the ballots start coming out on September 14th.
Thank you, Beth Weldon. Kelly Fischler, you have 1 minute.
Thank you. I wanted to thank everyone for attending tonight, and I am running to make Juneau an affordable place to raise a family, not just now, but for generations. And I want to see a plan for Juneau come to pass that actually will have gated progress and updates, as well as really making Juneau a place that can sustain another 500 generations. I love Juneau. I can't imagine anybody here doesn't. Thank you.
Kelly Fischler, thank you. Michelle Hale, you have 1 minute.
Thanks, and I want to thank the League of Women Voters and KTOO and the Empire for putting this on. It is a little odd doing it by Zoom, even though we've done a lot by Zoom, but I appreciate seeing everybody, and I appreciate the work that you put into putting it on. It's been an honor to serve on the Assembly for the last 3 years. We have a great Assembly, and I have really enjoyed working with them. I want to continue that work. I am thoughtful. I'm a hard worker. I do my homework. I work with people. I try to figure out how to work with people to get things done. I'm a listener. I listen to people. There's lots of different viewpoints in the community. I listen to everybody, and then I kind of weigh all those options, and I work really hard to try to figure out how to make things work. I ask for your vote so that I can continue this work for the next 3 years.
Thank you, Michelle Hale. Troy White-Smith, you have 1 minute.
Thank you so much for having me here, and thanks to all the other candidates, and good luck to everyone in the League of Women Voters for having us in this forum this year. I am a person of humility, discipline, and core values, and I believe that I will make a great representative on the Assembly here in Juneau. I think that we need a person who is able to listen to both sides, regardless if it's Democrat, Republican, Libertarian, whatever it is. This is about the issue. Set party aside, and I want to meet with people who have opposing views, because the only way that you fix things that are broken is you work together and come up with a solution that works well for everybody. We need to take proper measures to revive our economy. We need to recognize and announce mental health as a public health crisis. That's what it is. We need to face that, and that will resolve a lot of the issues here. I believe that a vote for myself is a vote in the right direction. Thank you.
Thank you, Troy White-Smith. Barbara Blake, it's your turn.
Yeah, I want to start by saying Halagunas Cheese Chinan to KTOO, to the League of Women Voters, to Juneau Empire for hosting us tonight. I'm super thankful for this forum. I have a wealth of experience, education, connections. I have a bachelor's and a master's degree. My master's thesis was on fisheries development in rural Alaska. I have connections at in the federal space, in the tribal space, as well as in the legislature and in the executive branch. I want to bring all of this to the table. I really think that there's opportunity here for some partnering and some ability to lift up the community together. And I think we can only do that when we diversify, when we strengthen who we are by bringing different voices to the table. And I'm willing to be that voice. I'm willing to build those partnerships for our city and borough and for all of Juneauites so that we can be stronger community together. Hawa.
Thank you, Barbara Blake. Paul Kelly, you have 1 minute.
Thank you. And thank you everybody for coming tonight and listening to us. My name is Paul Kelly, and I'm running for the Juneau Assembly to represent District 1. I committed to running back in January. I've been attending meetings. I've been talking to people, engaging with people, listening to both sides and listening to what people have to say. I've served on the school board for the last 3 years. The last 2 years, I've been an officer on the board. And so come October, I am ready to hit the ground running. I've been working hard already to earn your vote. I am the only candidate here who's knocked on more than 1,200 doors. And so I have literally been walking the walk. And that is why I am very proud to have been endorsed by the Central Labor Council, by AFSCME Local 52, by the Alaska Laborers Union 942, and the Inland Boatsmen Union. So I would be honored to have your vote and honor before October 5th. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul Kelly. And thanks to all our candidates. That wraps up the assembly portion of the forum. So I'd like to thank Paul Kelly, Barbara Blake, Troy White-Smith, Michelle Hale, Kelly Fischler, and Beth Weldon. Rasha?
We're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll talk about education issues with candidates for the Juneau Board of Education. But first, some information from City Clerk Beth McCune. I spoke with her about how vote by mail will work for this year's local election.
Hello, I'm Beth McEwen. I'm the municipal clerk and election official for the City and Borough of Juneau. This year's municipal election is held on the first Tuesday of October of each year. So for 2021, that's October 5th. We will be mailing ballots out on September 14th. And if you have not received a ballot in the mail by the end of September, please contact our office. So here is a sample ballot. It is two-sided. As you'll see on the first side, we have the actual races. The top race is vote for mayor. We have one candidate in that race, vote for no more than one. District 1, we have vote for no more than one, and we have 3 candidates. And District 2, vote for no more than one, and you have 2 candidates to choose from. There's also the Board of Education, also known as the school board, and there's 3 races in that. So you can vote for 1, 2, or 3. If you end up voting for 4 in that race, then that race will get rejected on that ballot. So make sure you vote for up to 3, but you can leave any of these blank, or you can vote for less than 3 if you want. Then when you're done voting for the candidates, you'll want to turn it over because there is one proposition, the 3% temporary sales tax question on the ballot. So when you are done voting both sides of the ballot, you're going to fold it up and you're going to put it into your secrecy sleeve. And then your secrecy sleeve is going to go into the return ballot envelope. On the return ballot envelope is the place for your signature and personal identifier. It's very important that you sign as close as your signature would have been with the state of Alaska or your PFD application, because that's generally where they get those signatures that we're verifying from. And then you can return it in a number of ways. You can return it either via the post office, and we are paying the postage, so it's going to be no stamp required. You can drop it off in one of our 2 drop boxes. One is located at the Douglas Library, right outside the Douglas Library and Fire Hall, or out at the Auk Bay Boat Launch parking lot. And that's not the parking lot where the Auk Bay Harbor office is, it's the boat launch parking lot. The other options, we will have 2 vote centers available that you can drop your ballots off at the vote center. And those are at the Mendenhall Library, Monday through Friday, starting on September 20th through Election Day. Monday through Friday, hours are 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., as well as Saturdays from noon to 4 p.m. The other vote center is located here at City Hall in the Assembly Chambers, and that will be open from 8 to 4:30 Monday through Friday, starting the 20th of September. On Election Day itself, both vote centers will be open the normal poll hours, which would be 7 a.m. until 8 p.m. So you can bring your ballot on Election Day. Lastly, if you are putting it in the mail on Election Day, we encourage you to get it postmarked so that the actual postmark is visible for the date so that your ballot can be counted. So on election night, different than last few years of elections, we will not have preliminary results known on election night. We will be packaging up all those ballots, taking them to Anchorage, processing them. Okay, once we've checked the signatures on the envelope and we've ensured that that voter has only one ballot cast, then it gets approved for counting. We open the ballot envelopes, we separate the ballot from the secrecy sleeve, and then those ballots get put through the ballot scanner. And the Dominion machinery takes a picture of every single ballot that gets scanned. Once all the ballots are scanned, then those go into the preliminary results. When we are done doing all of that process in Anchorage, any of the ones that were questioned are going to be coming back to Juneau. Our Canvas Review Board will review each and every single one of those questioned discrepancies and make a determination. We will be posting results, preliminary results initially on our juneau.org website for the elections. And then we will also be posting the final results on the same website. So you can follow along with us as we are doing updates to those preliminary results. We'll be posting those to our website, juneau.org. If we can, we will have preliminary results on Friday the 8th in the evening. If not, it may have to wait until Monday the 11th. The official results, when we actually know when the persons are actually elected, is certification by the Canvas Review Board on Tuesday, October 19th.
Welcome back to the 2021 Virtual Candidate Forum. We're now joined by 5 of the 7 Juneau School Board candidates. There are 3 open seats on the school board this year. Elizabeth Siddon, Will Jordan Sangster, Aaron Spratt, Tom Bazard, Amber Fromhers, Ivan Bailey, and Kyle Scholl are competing for them. Scholl is a write-in candidate, and his name will not be appearing on the ballot. We invited every candidate. Will Jordan Sangster and Kyle Scholl were not able to join us this evening. K-12 education and childcare are on many people's minds right now as we close in on the second year of the COVID-19 pandemic and parents navigate another school year.
We'll follow the same format we did for the assembly candidates. Each candidate has 1 minute to give their opening statement. We'll then alternate back and forth asking questions, which the candidates will have 55 seconds to respond to. We will end with a 1-minute closing statement from each candidate.
We'll start with Elizabeth Siddon. You have 1 minute.
Thank you. My name is Elizabeth Siddon. I want to thank the League of Women Voters, KTOO, and Juneau Empire for hosting the forum tonight. A little bit about me. I moved to Juneau 19 years ago after college for graduate school. I've since earned a master's and a PhD in fisheries from the University of Alaska Fairbanks, and I currently work at NOAA's Ocbay Labs. My husband and I have one son who is enrolled in the Juneau School District, and he is a second grader at Harborview Elementary. I joined the school board in 2018, and it has been an absolute honor to serve and to advocate for all of Juneau's students. I bring a strong background in 3 areas. The first is STEM, or science, technology, engineering, and math. The second is in special education. And the third is around early childhood advocacy. I know that the challenges of the last 18 months and the current COVID landscape are on everyone's minds tonight. I look forward to sharing my perspectives on that, as well as all of the other responsibilities entrusted to us as school board members. Thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth Siddon. Aaron Spratt, please go ahead.
Hello, my name is Aaron Spratt. Thank you for having me this evening. Flu causes more death each year in school-aged children than COVID-19. If you combine flu and COVID-19 deaths, they account for less than 1% of all pediatric deaths. Every death is tragic, but Juneau School's response has focused mainly on the physical health of our students, though COVID poses little threat to our children. The mental health of our students will be the real pandemic. Suicide, isolation, forced masking, and social distancing are real threats to our students' mental health. Juneau School's response has been driven by fear and hysteria and is not helping in the total health of our students. Our schools should demand academic excellence. We should not be engaged in the social promotion of all students that Juneau Schools currently incorporates. If our kids don't learn something, we aren't helping them by moving them on to the next grade. We must have standards and enforce them. Thank you.
Thank you, Aaron Spratt. Tom Pizzard, it's your turn.
Can you hear me now? All right, would you restart the clock, please? Thank you. Thank you for this opportunity tonight. I very much appreciate it. Often people have asked me why I'm running, and I have to tell you, it's our family has prospered here in Juneau. I'm retired now, and I have time to give back to the community. Many others have asked me to run for office. I have no desire to be a politician. However, we as citizens must be more engaged in our government, and this is the best way right now for me to serve our community. Through the years, the skills acquired have made it possible for me to be successful. I have seen and continue to see a serious gap in the needs of the trades, those that build our world, and the basic skill sets learned by our graduates from our high school programs. There is a huge disconnect between the needs of our society and what our schools are currently pumping out. We need to fix this. Duty calls.
Thank you, Tom Pizzard. Amber Frommertz, you have 1 minute.
Yat she Amber Fromhurst, Yenisha, Kea Ani Nishle, Lizathana Bashichin, Lash dash a dash che, Nana Tachini a dashinella, Akut ega a astan Nishle. This is how I ground my identity as a Juneau woman. I'm also a mother, a U.S. Navy veteran, active duty dependent, and proponent of public education. I would like to honor the land and the waters of our beautiful home, which is and has been cared for by and in coexistence with the Tlingit people. I express this in a process of rematriation, my connection to place, and my relation to the land. Many thanks to the League of Women Voters, KTOO, and Juneau Empire for hosting tonight's forum. I am, as I've received so much support through my educational journey, I decided to run for JSD School Board as a way to give back. Obtaining a master's degree in educational studies from Tufts Universities was not only my success, but that of a village.
Thank you very much, Amber Frommertz. Ivan Bailey, you have 1 minute.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you, KTOO, Juneau Empire, the League of Women Voters, and the people of Juneau. My name is Ivan Bailey, and I'm running for school board. A little bit about myself. I've lived in Juneau for 28 years. My family lives here. We have a family-owned business that we've had in Juneau for 7 years. I'm professional. My professional background includes, I was an equal employment counselor for the U.S. Department of Commerce. I was also a first on the first NOAA inaugural Equal Opportunity Advisory Committee. I worked on the national peer review for the Department of Education. And I believe that, that my election would be in support of the strategic plan that the district has laid out in equity, achievement, partnership, and relationships, that I can also speak for families. Thank you.
Thank you, Ivan Bailey. Rasha?
Thank you, Ivan Bailey. Now for questions. We'll start again with Elizabeth Siddon. In anticipation of federal infrastructure funding for the school district, what are your top priorities? You have 55 seconds.
Thank you for that question. And I think in the assembly candidate answers earlier, I appreciated several of them pointing to our school facility needs. Many of us know in this community, we have several leaky roofs and we have other major maintenance projects and concerns to ensure that our students are in buildings where they can learn safely. So that would be my top priority in terms of infrastructure. Of course, we work in cooperation and in partnership with the cities. Our buildings are owned by the cities. And so we would work with them, as we do already collectively, to prioritize those projects and move them forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth Siddon. Aaron Spratt, please go ahead.
I agree. The school maintenance is a top priority of ours. We also want to make sure that we have the ability to use our funding to ensure the success of our students, identifying early deficiencies in reading, writing, and math. And I would want to use that funding to empower our teachers to be dynamic and quick in identifying deficiencies. Thank you.
Thank you, Aaron Spratt. Tom Bazard, it's your turn.
Oh, I am so glad that I have this question. I would take the bulk of that infrastructure money and I would put it directly into my industrial arts center plan for the Juneau school system. We would actually transform at least one building into a complete industrial arts center for the training of trades and help the students that are currently being bypassed by our over heavily academic focus that we currently have on the school board. We are underserving entirely too many of the young people that come out of high school, and they enter into the workplace through graduation, some not graduation, and they struggle with the rigors of basic life, not having the necessary skills to be competitive and successful in our construction world.
Tom Mazard, thank you. Amber Frummers, you have 55 seconds.
Thank you. With the infrastructure funds that are in talk right now, my first priority would be to work with the Juneau Assembly in strategically mapping out and identifying areas that we can collaborate and identify for needs to direct the monies most efficiently and leverage our abilities to make the funds go further. In doing so, I would also focus at the state level that they take care of the school debt bonds. I know Juneau Assembly has done their part in helping our schools stay healthy. So we also need to keep the state accountable. The next identified priority, I would say, is using that bulk of money to transfer our schools into green spaces, green sustainable spaces. This means heat pumps. This means HVACs that will keep our air and our children safe. Thank you.
Amber Frummers, thank you. Ivan Bailey, it's your turn.
Could you repeat the question, please?
Yeah. In anticipation of federal infrastructure funding for the school district, what are your top priorities?
Thank you. As the other candidates have already spoken to, I believe that school maintenance and repairs are necessary. Also, what we're looking at is for our vocational trainings. And in addition to that, I'd also like to look at a special program that deals with agriculture. I know that there's a need for food. We have homeless, we have folks that are dealing with food insecurities and homes insecurities. So looking at something to deal with agriculture that can tie into the CTE programs or the STEM programs. Thank you.
Thank you, Ivan Bailey.
Thank you, Rasha. For the next question, we'll start with Aaron Spratt. The current Board of Education has made decisions regarding COVID-19 mitigation in schools. What would you change or keep moving forward? You have 55 seconds.
Thank you. What I would change is I want to empower parents to make the best medical decisions for their students. Forced masking, I'm against. I want parents to make that decision between them, their doctor, and their student. Again, the COVID response, I believe, has been driven by an effort to keep kids physically safe while yet denying the low risk to our children. And I really worry about the mental health of our students, the mental health of our special needs students. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'll just point out here that the CDC does recommend wearing masks indoors in public to protect against the Delta variant and prevent possibly spreading it to others. Thank you, Aaron Spratt. Tom Bazard, same question and 55 seconds to respond.
As pandemics go, this one is not historically as threatening as, say, the Spanish flu or swine flu or the Black Death, known as the bubonic plague of the 1300s. I have a problem with controls being placed on us based on fear first and then tyranny. Even the CDC has recognized this, as they themselves have listed the second major cause of COVID death is due to fear and anxiety. I hope you fact check that, Donna. It's true, Dana. Some of the measures placed and taken, like hand sanitizer and teaching of better hygiene, are appropriate. Teaching the children to recognize illness signs and to stay home if one is not well are also worthwhile. Parental rights play a major role in decisions of the children entrusted to the school system. The parents make the best decisions concerning their children's health.
Thank you, Tom Bizard. We will take a look at that fact. I don't know if we'll get to it tonight, but we'll take a look at that. And I do want to point out that the school district guidelines are in line with the mitigation strategies that are set by the City and Borough of Juneau and the advice given by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention and the American Academy of Pediatrics. Amber Fromitz, please go ahead.
Can you please repeat the question?
I would be happy to repeat the question. The current Board of Education has made decisions regarding COVID-19 mitigation in schools. What would you change or keep moving forward?
Thank you. So I first want to acknowledge the fact that this is brand new. We've never been in a pandemic before, and I just want to acknowledge and thank the current school board and the assembly to get us this far and with our children as safely as possible and at the center of all the decisions. In something that I would change, I would definitely lead towards a debriefing session that is in collaboration with the Tribal Emergency Operations Command, the Juneau EOC, the Emergency Operations Command. These are the people who have been put in place with the expertise and the recommendations of leading a conversation of what lessons have been learned. So at some point when things settle down, I'm confident that we will have a debriefing session, and I would lean on those recommendations as something that we would change going forward. I would also, thank you.
Thank you, Amber Fromitz. Ivan Bailey, you have 55 seconds to respond. Do you need the question?
No, I think I got it. So yes, first I would applaud the school district and the CBJ for their decisions. I believe that masking is necessary at this point. It won't be forever, but it's necessary now, as it has shown to reduce transmissions. The mitigation strategy that the board has implemented has not been easy, but that's what we have. This is a pandemic that we're in right now. We've never, as Amber had mentioned before, this is something that none of us were alive for, the Spanish flu. So we're here. Recently, we have 473 new medical professionals that are being brought into the state. That was announced yesterday, including nurses, patient care, respiratory specialists. And we have hospitalizations at an all-time high. So I applaud the assembly and I applaud the board, and let's keep going.
Thank you very much, Ivan Bailey. And Elizabeth Siddon, it's your turn.
Thank you. Well, I want to highlight, I think one thing we can all agree on is that our end goal is kids in classrooms. We know students learn best in classrooms with their teachers and with their peers. So the school districts and the board, the mitigation plans to date have been made with that goal in mind. And how do we keep kids in classrooms as consistently and safely as possible? The stability in that system impacts all of us, right? Every time kids are sent home because they're identified as close contacts, it impacts parents, it impacts local businesses and our economy if parents can't be at work. And so masks are one way, along with our other mitigation strategies. And when Juneau Public Health identifies close contacts in our classrooms, they use masks as one of their metrics to decide who close contacts are. Thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth Siddon. Before I hand it back over to Rasha, she has been doing some Googling, and she does confirm that the CDC says that worry and anxiety is a top cause related to COVID-19. Thank you. Rasha, I'll hand it to you for the next question.
Thank you, Dana. And we'll start with Tom Bizard. The district's budget is the responsibility of the board and establishes the district's priorities. What budget decisions would you make to assist in achieving the district's goals? You have 55 seconds.
I would like to call a point of order here before I get into an answer. To please stop the clock. So I'm not going to answer your question, and I have a great answer for it, but I will call the point of order for you. You called us here into the forum to ask us questions. This is not a debate. I do not appreciate you people questioning us or challenging us on our answers. You can do that on your own time and not during this forum. And I'm not going to thank you for allowing me to have my piece.
Thank you, Tom Bazard. Amber Frummers, you have 55 seconds. Would you like to hear the question again? The district's budget is the responsibility of the board and establishes the district's priorities. What budget decisions would you make to assist in achieving the district's goals?
Thank you. I think that the school district's budget is highly connected, is based on the base student allocations at the state level. So I think attention and advocacy in our specific location in Juneau, we're next to the capital. So for the school board members, we should be a part of the advocacy to increase the state BSA level that will benefit the school district's budget overall. I think also another priority would be an exploration of supporting the school district's curriculum supports. This is reading specialists. These are the supports and curriculum that the teachers are able to focus on teaching. And I would also say this also opens up a CTE exploration avenue.
Thank you, Amber Frummers. Ivan Bailey, it's your turn. Do you need to hear the question again?
No, I think I got it. Thank you.
Thank you.
As far as the prioritizing the district budget, I think first and foremost, just being able to work as a board member directly with the district to make sure that to avoid the temptations of undisciplined spending. Second, I think that part of this budget, there should be dedication towards connectivity and broadband throughout. Accessibility concerns that I have with the Juneau School District website for people that have lower vision, that would be a priority for me as well. The hiring and retention of quality teachers, that we expand our recruitment efforts beyond just Juneau and Alaska if need be, and towards the lower 48. Thank you.
Thank you, Ivan Bailey. Elizabeth Siddon, you have 55 seconds.
Thank you. My priorities are around the academic and social emotional supports for students. Recovering from the academic losses that were incurred due to distance learning under COVID-19 are going to take time, and the needs are going to look different at different grade levels. So for example, at our elementary, we might need to put extra supports into reading interventionists. Whereas at high school, we might need to put extra supports into credit recovery options so that kids who fell behind in terms of being on track for graduating can get back on track to graduate. Lastly, as I highlighted, the social and emotional learning is foundational to all of our students' academic successes. And so we need to support them in those realms as well through counseling supports as well as family engagement. Thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth Siddon. Aaron Spratt, it's your turn. Do you need to hear the question again?
Please.
The district's budget is the responsibility of the school board, and it establishes the district's priorities. What budget decisions would you make to assist in achieving the district's goals? You have 55 seconds.
We have a distinct challenge ahead of us. Last year is called the lost year of learning. Due to the school board's decisions and to have to not have in-person schooling, it posed a real challenge to our students, and I appreciate our teachers and our students being resilient in the face of that. But we have real challenges moving forward. We need to make our budget priorities to ensure that the foundations are taught and mastered, and I would be a proponent of that, ensuring that this year is going to be a tough year. to make up for what we lost and to continue to put our students on a path of success. Thank you.
Thank you, Aaron Spratt. Dana has the next question.
Thank you, Rasha. The next question will begin with Amber Frommertz. We'll have the first answer. And the question is, what is your own experience with public education? How do you think your own experience would influence your work as a board member?
Thank you for that question. My experience has been public education. I grew up on the western side of Navajo Nation in a border town, Page High School. I'm also active duty dependent, so my family and I have seen different schools, private and public on the East Coast and now on the West Coast in Alaska. So my experience that will inform me if I were elected to the school board would be, I've seen success with CTE, which is now what we call CTE or Voc Ed. And that is something that would be interesting as a school board member to look into with Juneau School District. My experience as public ed also led through my higher ed learning as a non-traditional student. And so I believe that our students can learn in different ways.
Thank you very much, Amber Frommertz. Ivan Bailey, it's your turn.
Thank you. Well, I'd start off with that I'm a military brat, which due in large part to my father's service, I've attended schools in the United States and various states, overseas, primarily in England. So I've attended private, public, and British primary schools, as well as Department of Defense schools. That experience has given me really good insight on what it's like for families that have military dependents that actually travel from place to place, and what it's like to actually have to make those adjustments coming from a different culture, a different country, or even a different region, and being able to successfully transition into a new place, a new school system, a new state. Thank you.
Thank you, Ivan Bailey. Elizabeth Sidden, you have 55 seconds. Do you need the question?
No, thank you. I'm all set. My experience growing up has all been in public schools. So my undergraduate and all of my graduate work were at public schools. But I think what's important in this realm really is my involvement with the Juneau School District prior to being on the board. I co-founded Southeast Exchange, which is a community partnership between local STEM professionals, including the trades, and the school district to bring hands-on and place-based science opportunities into classrooms. So I've spent a lot of time sort of with my NOAA hat on in classrooms. I developed curriculum with the Floyd Dryden Middle School and spent 6 weeks, 2 years in a row in their classrooms teaching a unit on ecosystems. I am deeply committed to education and to the public school system in Juneau, and I walk the walk and I advocate for it when I'm at the table as a school board member. Thank you.
Elizabeth Sidden. Aaron Spratt, it's your turn.
I as well received a public education from kindergarten through high school. What really sticks out to me is the impact of passionate teachers that can transform lives, motivate people to success. And I personally will advocate for those teachers who are passionate about their job and have such a tremendous impact on their students. I recognize there's a variety of ways within the public school, and I like for the a multitude of innovational ways to teach our children. Thank you.
Thank you, Aaron Spratt. Tom Bizard, you have 55 seconds. Do you need the question?
Yes, please.
The question is, what is your own experience with public education? How do you think your own experience would influence your work as a board member? 55 seconds to answer, please.
I am blessed with both private and public education. For most of my first 7 years, I was in private education. And then when the 7th grade rolled around, I moved into the public area. There's quite a significant difference in what goes on in the private sector as compared to the public sector. So I bring experience from both areas to the table, great understanding. I haven't much more to share about that in the limited time. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom Bizard. Rasha has the next question.
Thanks, Dana. What is your philosophy on collaboration, especially around difficult topics? How are you prepared to address strong public opinions focused at the board, regardless of your personal perspective on a specific issue? We'll start with Iben Bailey. You have 55 seconds.
Thank you. I'm all for collaboration. One of my hobbies or careers is that I'm an actor. I've performed with Perseverance Theater here, with Theater in the Rough. And part of that collaborative process means that people aren't always going to agree with everything that you do, but being able to understand that what your goal is, that you can have the common goal. And so you work together through your differences, through your difficulties, in order to maintain or keep your eye on the prize. And I would say in this instance, making sure that our children get the best and quality education that they can receive in our district. Thank you.
Thank you, Iben Bailey. Elizabeth Siddon, what's your philosophy on collaboration? You have 55 seconds.
Thank you. This is a great question, and something that is important to me in my day job and in my role as a board member. When I became president of the board this last year, what I said to my fellow board members was, I lead with three themes: collaboration, communication, and transparency, because all of those three things build trust, and we need trust among each other, and the board as a whole needs trust with the community. So those are sort of my founding principles in terms of how I approach being a board member. And then as we face difficult topics and we have disagreements, reminding each other why we're there, and that at the end of the day, we are making the best decisions for our students, has been helpful for everybody to keep in mind really why we're there and what the priority is. Thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth Siddon. Aaron Spratt, you have 55 seconds. Do you need the question again?
No, thank you. As a retired Navy officer and enlisted, collaboration has been a key part of my professional background. But our collaboration needs to always focus on the success of our students, making the best choice for our students, ensuring that they will succeed not only at their grade levels, but succeed in life. And so our collaboration needs to be centered around how best to serve our students. And I plan to be a valuable part of that moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Aaron Spratt. Tom Bizard, what's your philosophy on collaboration? You have 55 seconds.
Well, first I want to point out that we are elected officials. We're not petty tyrants. It's real important that in our society, that when controversial subjects come up, that we actually listen to the input of the people in the community and find out how they feel about it and whether or not we should go forward. With that being said, all subjects should be taught fairly, unbiased, and with only the most current and correct information available. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom Bizard. Amber Frommertz, you have 55 seconds.
My philosophy on collaboration?
Yes.
So I believe that this is in line with the school district's strategic goals, and it's similar to their goal of partnerships. So right now we're in an era of COVID and federal funding, but this opportunity, this time frame is going to end. So right now we need to prepare for this transition, for an era of fiscal limitations, which kind of brings a bit away of a nuance. We need to think regional, and similar to the Juneau Assembly members who are talking about Juneau as a hub, Juneau can be a hub, an educational hub for the Southeast region. This is an example. An example of this would be this current student STEPS grant that ASAB, the Association of Alaska School Board, is collaborating and facilitating right now with the different communities of Southeast Alaska and also other schools.
Amber Frommertz, thank you. Dana has the next question.
Thank you, Rasha. For the next question, we'll start with Elizabeth Sidden, and we have 55 seconds to answer the question. How does the board assist in overcoming income-based achievement gaps? Elizabeth Sidden?
Thank you. I think this speaks to the board's recently adopted strategic plan. We have a pillar in that strategic plan around equity, and we have identified specific subpopulations within that pillar of equity, and digging down into the details of that strategic plan, really some pointed goals and ways to get there around closing the achievement gaps. There's a lot of work we can do on our side, and there's also a lot of work in which we will rely on our community partners. We have great community partners that really lean in with us on these topics and are committed along with us to help closing those academic achievement gaps. Thank you.
Elizabeth Sidden. Aaron Spratt, it's your turn.
I prefer to think that all of our children can be successful. I'm a proponent of giving students equal opportunity in success. That can be done through the encouragement of parental involvement, but I believe every student can succeed. I think it's smart to recognize that there are differing challenges for every student, but I believe that when we provide the equality of opportunity, we give them the best chance for success. Thank you.
Thank you, Aaron Spratt. Tom Pizzard, you have 55 seconds. Do you need the question?
No, I'm good to go. It needs to be reassessed. The current school board's philosophy is groupthink, and they need more diversity on the board. Clearly, if you go back and take a look at their voting record, they almost always vote as a block. And in fact, last Saturday morning during their retreat, near the end of the meeting, they were patting each other on the back because they all thought so much alike. They all got along so well. It made everything so much easier to get done. And that's a travesty. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom Pizzard. Just to clarify, did you want to address income-based achievement gaps?
Well, the formula is entirely too complicated. Oh, what was that? The formula is very complicated. And I went through the formula and, you know, it justifies what it does. But when I read through it, I realized that the complication is there for a reason, and I'm not really clear on what the reason is. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom Pizzard. Amber Fromert, it's your turn.
Can you repeat the question?
Of course. How does the board assist in overcoming income-based achievement gaps?
Okay. So I have previous experience as a Head Start director, and during that time I've been informed and heavily guided by the Maslow hierarchy of needs, which says that children cannot learn unless their needs are met. And so you start at the bottom level. Are they fed? Do they have stable housing? This means that there needs to be collaboration and understanding of supports for our families in Juneau. That means also like continuing the efforts that Juneau School District is currently undertaking with their social and emotional curriculum with the teachers as well as with the students. I also think that investing in our early childhood education programming will benefit at the Juneau level, at the city level, and in collaboration with the school district. Head Start is an income-based program, and there's proven benefits of ECE.
Thank you, Amber Fromert. Ivan Bailey, you have 55 seconds.
Thank you. I think one of the ways in which we look at income-based inequities in student achievement, one of the things I mentioned that Amber had mentioned about was our freeze and reduce lunch programs. I think that as we're moving forward, we can try to encourage as many folks locally at each school, folks that actually qualify for those particular programs, because as had been mentioned before, funding is not inexhaustible, it will run out. And the more folks that we actually have that can actually complete those forms, or they need assistance filling out those forms, so we can actually keep this going district-wide, no matter what the income is, I think would be a great place to start. And I think that every child should start off the day with having a breakfast and having a full belly, which can help them with their learning.
Thank you, Eben Bailey. Rasha, I'll turn it to you for the next question.
Thanks, Dana. Beginning with Aaron Spratt, what can the district do to best prepare students throughout their education to become future voters and engaged citizens? You have 55 seconds.
Thank you. It really comes down to teaching the basics and the mastery of the basics. When our children are able to read, write, when they do well at math, they become critical thinkers. We need articulate critical thinkers, and we can do this in our school system. We want to have unbiased teaching of history. We want to ensure that that American history is taught faithfully. And I think that when we master the basics, when we create critical thinking individuals, we have succeeded, and they will be active voters and engaging in our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Aaron Spratt. Tom Bizard, it's your turn. Do you need the question again?
No, I think I've got it. I think that having the students more well-grounded in constitutional studies, civic studies, and their duties as American citizens would go a long ways. American citizenship is something that is cherished, world-renowned. People all over the world are desperate to get here and live here. We have people hiding in boats, illegally coming across the border to come to our country and live here. And for such a bad place, it must be a whole lot better than where they're coming from. Our young people here don't know that, and they need to be taught these things, and they need to realize and understand just how great our country really is, and just how important it is for them to come to the ballot box and vote.
Thank you, Tom Bizard. Amber Frummers, you have 55 seconds.
Okay, I think that civics education is a piece of our curriculum that JSD students should have should have included in their class schedules, which also leads me to wanting to thank and shout out for the League of Women Voters in their efforts to bring the students into the Capitol. Research has shown that there are benefits to a place-based curriculum. And what better place could our students be positioned than Juneau, the capital of Alaska? We have legislature and staffers on just walks and steps away from some of our schools. And I believe that continuing this relationship that the League of Women Owners has fostered, giving our students real hands-on experience to see that civics is taking place in Juneau is absolutely important.
Thank you, Amber Frummers. Eben Bailey, you have 55 seconds. Do you need the question again?
No, I got it. Thank you. So I think what I would like to see done, and I think that we could actually really focus in on, is looking at our debate club, what we have available for our students right now, including debate, including drama, public speaking. I would also encourage any of the, something that the board would look at and the district could look at, is that we look at in grade 12, our senior students in their US history class or English class, that there might be an incentive once you turn 18, that once you go and vote, and it might be your senior year or you're just turning 18, you might get a lower test score dropped. That's something that we did in Michigan, and that was highly successful. Although we wanted to get the test dropped, we turned around and we made sure that we registered to vote by the time that we turned 18. Thank you.
Thank you, Eben Bailey. Elizabeth Siddon, it's your turn.
Thank you. Well, the mission statement of the Juneau School District specifically calls out providing meaningful, relevant, and rigorous learning experiences in order to graduate diverse, engaged citizens for a changing world. It is our mission. It is at the core of the decisions we make along the way. And my background in STEM, in science education, provides that framework for critical thinking. If our students can graduate as strong critical thinkers, then they can decipher between, news sources and misinformation and make informed decisions for themselves about the issues going on around us in the world. And lastly, I'll mention that the board 2 years ago provided a resolution to the State School Board Association to develop an Alaska history textbook written in part by Alaska Native scholars.
Thank you, Elizabeth Sidden. That's all of the questions. Candidates now have 1 minute each to give their closing statements. And we'll start with Iben Bailey. You have 1 minute.
Thank you. And again, I'd like to thank KTOO for this opportunity, the Juneau Empire, the League of Women Voters, the people of Juneau, as well as all of the candidates here. I think that building together today for a better future tomorrow, that's what I'm running on. I believe that my vast experience, my knowledge, skills, and abilities make me an ideal candidate. I've been very active in following the board, watching what's been happening, engaging in my civic duty in Juneau to the people of Juneau. I live here. My family lives here. We all live here. So what I intend is that being part of the school board is that I'm able to try to speak to as many people and to as many interests as possible in terms of what we're looking at for the best for our students and the best for our community in our future. Thank you.
Thank you, Iben Bailey. Amber Frummers, please go ahead.
Thank you again to the League of Women Voters, KTOO, and Juneau Empire for hosting tonight's forum. Thank you for those who are tuning in. Your interest in our community school means a lot to me, especially as a parent of JSD students. I am Amber Fromhurst. Much of my post-high school journey was in pursuit of education. Then, upon obtaining a master's in education studies at Tufts University, I pursued a profession in an education program, which I continue this today. I'm running for the Juneau School District School Board as a way to give back. I bring a reflective leadership that is student and family centric and solution oriented. And I want to just thank the other candidates in tonight's forum for also giving their time and service.
Thank you, Amber Frummers. Tom Bizard, closing comments, please go ahead.
I've walked all over handing out door knockers, talking with people across the community, and I have much more of that to do. But the one thing that becomes clear with these people is that the Juneau school system has not done a good enough job in preparing students for vocational work in the trades. That's something that I bring to the table. I have a huge vision. I have a vision that will actually develop an entire center here in Juneau, and we will compete nicely with the school in Fairbanks and in Galena when it comes to industrial arts. I'm not polished, I'm not pretty, but I can guarantee you that I'll shake up the school board and you won't get a 7-0 vote every time an issue comes up. I'll think it through. My name is Tom Bizard, and I respectfully ask you for your vote. Please vote for me for school board.
Thank you, Tom Bizard. Aaron Spratt, you have 1 minute.
Thank you. I'd like to thank everyone for the opportunity this evening. I want to reiterate that the combined flu and COVID-19 deaths account for less than 1% of all pediatric deaths in our country. With that in mind, many parents have reached out to me in frustration for that. Parents make the best health and education decisions for their students. I am the candidate that will empower parents. I'm also the candidate that will give a voice to frustrated parents on the board. In order to ensure success for our students, we must require that they master the foundations of reading, writing, and math. And I'm the candidate that will fight for that and fight for your students. I will make the right decisions, and I will make the tough decisions as an elected official. We have the opportunity right now to demonstrate for our children resiliency. Thank you.
Thank you, Aaron Spratt. Elizabeth Siddon, please go ahead.
Thank you. Again, thank you to the League of Women Voters and to KTOO and to the Juneau Empire and to everyone in Juneau tonight that is tuning in. It is so important to be informed on these decisions. I'll end by saying I lead by example and I walk the walk. I'm not only a board member, but I am a parent of a student in the Juneau School District. So when I sit at that table and I make decisions, they're decisions that impact my family and our son as well. When I sit at the table and I advocate for partnerships for the community to also walk alongside the district and support our students, I am then in classrooms. I am leading C Week for NOAA Fisheries. I am a strong proponent of outreach education. If you'd like to learn more about me, please visit my website, elizabethsiddon.com. And I hope to be able to continue to serve the community. It is a responsibility I don't take lightly, and it has been an honor to serve. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Elizabeth Siddon, Aaron Spratt, Tom Bizard, Amber Frommertz, and Ivan Bailey. And thank you to those who joined us for tonight's forum. If you missed any part of it, you can find the full video at juneauempire.com, KTOO.org, and JuneauLWV.org. You can find more local election coverage, voter information, and candidate profiles on these websites too.
Thank you to the League of Women Voters for co-sponsoring this forum with KTOO and the Juneau Empire. And to voters, be sure to return your mail-in ballots on or before Election Day, October 5th. Ballots can be returned by mail, dropped at the secure ballot boxes at the Douglas Library or Statter Harbor starting next Thursday, September 16th, or at the vote centers at City Hall or the Mendenhall Valley Public Library starting September 20th.
Mailed ballots must be postmarked by October 5th, and ballots brought to drop boxes must be mailed in by 8 p.m. on the 5th. You can also drop off ballots or request replacements in person at City Hall or the Valley Library. You can find more information on the city's website, juneau.org/elections. Thank you and good night.